Good evening, Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao, together with the Presidential Communications Office.
We bring you the latest, widest, and most comprehensive news coverage from the People's Television, IBC, Philippine News Agency, Philippine Information Agency, and Presidential Broadcast Service. I'm Princess Habiba Saripauda.
And I'm Joe Fernandez. We are from Radyo Pilipinas. Welcome to Balitang Pambansa. Tonight's headlines. President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. has chosen a new president and CEO for PhilHealth. The Armed Forces of the Philippines, or AFP, confirms that 3 ships of the People's Liberation Army, or PLA, have entered the country's archipelagic waters. The Senate has agreed to move the holding of the BARM elections to October 2025. The lower house approved several vital bills on second and third reading, including an amendment to the Universal Healthcare Act. The lower house conducts its first tri-committee public hearing on fake news, disinformation, and misinformation in the country. The Supreme Court has started its oral arguments to tackle the 3 petitions to stop the transfer of the 89.89 billion pesos of PhilHealth's funds to the National Treasury. For his part, Solicitor General Menardo Guevara said that the President and government are not wrong in the ordering of the transfer of the said funds to the National Treasury since PhilHealth wasn't able to use it. Furthermore, he believed that government did not violate any law, and in fact, the said move can contribute to the nation's economy, especially since the country's debt is ballooning.
It was the executive and legislative department's way of creating and implementing a fiscal policy to boost economic growth without bloating the government's indebtedness or burdening the people. It is a common sense approach that does not violate any law, much less the Constitution.
What's not to like about the new guy at the helm of PhilHealth? Nada. A bachelor's degree in 1987 from the country's premier state university, a master's education credentials in global health from Harvard, and an executive master's degree in healthcare administration from the UNC in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. All told, more than 35 years in hospital management, who's right home on the operating table, just as in the boardroom. Our Alan Francisco has more on the new PhilHealth head honcho, plus the president's new guy and former general leading the PIDEA.
President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. has appointed Dr. Edwin Mercado as the new President and Chief Executive Officer of the Philippine Health Insurance Corporation, or PhilHealth. Mercado took his oath before the President at Malacanang, replacing Emmanuel Ledesma Jr., who led the agency for over a year. With 35 years of experience in hospital management, Mercado previously served as Vice Chairman of Mercado General Hospital, QualiMed Health Network since March 2021. He is also a regular faculty lecturer at the Ateneo School of Medicine and Public Health. As PhilHealth Chief, he is focusing on analyzing the cost per member for global coverage of inpatient services and advocating for the use of artificial intelligence in community health care. PhilHealth expressed confidence in Mercado's leadership, citing his extensive experience in the medical field. The agency assured that key initiatives, particularly the Universal Healthcare Program, will continue under his administration. The Philippine Health Insurance Corporation welcomes the appointment of Dr. Edwin Mercado as its new president and chief executive officer. Health Secretary Chidore Urbosa also welcomed Mercado's appointment and expressed gratitude to outgoing PCEO Emmanuel Ledesma Jr. for his service. Meanwhile, President Marcos also appointed former PNP Major General Isagani Neres as the new Director General Drug Enforcement Agent. PTV Manila, Alan Francisco, Balitang Pambansa.
Senate President Francis Cheese Escudero welcomed President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.'s appointment of Dr. Edwin Mercado as the new President and Chief Executive Officer, CEO of PhilHealth. Escudero says he hopes that the new PhilHealth chief will focus on ensuring that members will receive benefits that truly address their needs rather than just grant their requests. The senator also highlighted PhilHealth's long-standing inefficiencies, stating that a leadership change was long overdue. He revealed that several senators had previously called for a leadership shift due to the agency's failure to address pressing issues. Mercado replaces former PhilHealth President Emmanuel Ledesma.
Dapat sana noon pa, pero huli man dapat magaling pa rin at huli pa rin. Okay lang. Tinatanggap namin yung bagong halal at piniling nominado ni Pangulong Marcos sa PhilHealth. Dapat lamang naman talaga palitan ng PhilHealth dahil sa mahabang panahon hindi nito ginawa at tinugunan ng pangunahing pangangailangan sa kalusugan.
3 more ships of China's PLA group sailing in the country's archipelagic waters found themselves under the watchful eyes of the Philippine Coast Guard and the Philippine Navy Maritime patrols, and on the receiving end of radio challenges and advisories to sail away from the nation's maritime territories. This apparent show of provocation is part of China's move to frustrate the country's security patrols and act in anger or without the benefit of good judgment. Our Patrick De Jesus says more.
Two B-1 bomber aircraft from the U.S. Pacific Air Force flew over the West Philippine Sea today. This was part of a joint aerial exercise between the Philippines and the United States, which included the vicinity of Bao de Masinloc. The Philippine Air Force deployed 3 FA-50 fighter jets, wherein air patrol and air intercept training were conducted.
As for us, we are doing this training based on international rules-based order and based on protocol, so we will just continue on regardless of the action of other foreign actors.
The PAF reported that there were no radio challenges or sightings of Chinese aircraft during the exercise. Meanwhile, the Armed Forces of the Philippines Maritime and Aerial Assets shadowed 3 People's Liberation Army or PLA Navy ships detected within the Philippine archipelagic waters. These included the Renhai-class cruiser-guided missile, the Fuji-class replenishment oiler, and the Jiangkai-class frigate. Since February 1, the Chinese warships have been monitored, passing through Cuyo Island in Palawan, heading toward the Basilan Strait. One of them came from Bao de Masinloc. They were last spotted 120 nautical miles from Basilan, leaving the Philippines' exclusive economic zone and possibly heading to Indonesia for an exercise. Although the passage of foreign ships through archipelagic sea lanes is acceptable, the AFP emphasized that the Chinese warships did not conduct diplomatic coordination for their transit. They also did not travel expeditiously, moving at a speed of only 5 to 6 knots, a possible violation.
They could have traveled expeditiously. They were challenged all the way. They replied, but not in accordance to standard procedures. Standard procedure is that you would identify yourself, you would state where you came from, where you're heading to. The only reply given to Western Mindanao Command was that they are exercising freedom of navigation and innocent passage.
There is no cause for alarm, as we are prepared to respond effectively to any developments.
The Philippine Coast Guard also trailed 2 China Coast Guard ships until they exited the Philippines' exclusive economic zone. These Chinese vessels, CCG 3301 and 3104, previously approached within 34 nautical miles from the Pangasinan coastline. The PCG said their vessel, the BRP Cabra, closely monitored the Chinese Coast Guard ships until they left the country's EEZ. According to the latest monitoring supported by Canada's dark vessel detection data, the CCG ships are now returning to Guangdong Province, China, amid China's activities. An expert stressed the importance of showing the country's resolve and vigilance.
Kahit nagdadaan lang sila, papakita natin na tayo'y nagbabantay pa rin at naninindigan pa rin na kung dadaan sila, dapat ayon sa batas din ang kanilang pakikiraan. Tuloy-tuloy lang ang ating tinatawag na vigilance, no, yung ating pagbabantay. Dahil oras na may ginawa sila na labag sa ating batas at labag sa ating security, may karapatan tayo na umaksyon para proteksyonan ng ating security, no? After all, sila yung nandito sa lugar natin, no? So tayo yung may karapatan kung sakaling may mga mangyayari.
From the People's Television Network, Patrick De Jesus, Balitang Pambansa.
The Philippine Coast Guard, or PCG, addressed recent criticisms regarding the very existence of the West Philippine Sea. PCG spokesperson Commodore J. Tariela expressed strong disapproval, aligning with President Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr.'s stand that the WPS is not a mere fabrication but is indeed part of the Philippines. He further emphasized that dismissing the West Philippine Sea government is a disservice. Tariela also questioned how one can face the younger generations and tell them that our exclusive economic zone to the west of our archipelago is non-existent, effectively giving up the fight to assert their rights as Filipinos. On the other news, the election postponement bill for the BARM's midterm polls has cleared third and final reading in the Senate, with the reset of the midterm elections slated for May 12 moved to October 13 this year, with the House expected to pass their version of the bill and the bicameral conference committee to unify the House and Senate versions. Thereafter, Senate President Francis Cheese Escudero wants no more delays or extensions, while his predecessor and colleague, Senator Miguel Zubiri, prays for another shot for plebiscite in Sulu to keep them in the BARM, as our Danielle Manalastas has this report.
The Bicameral Conference Committee agreed to postpone for 5 months the BARM elections, as they agreed set it aside for on October 13, 2025, which was originally planned to happen on May 2025. Senate President Francis Escudero explained his reason why the BARM elections was not postponed for 1 year.
Masyado nang matagal. At actually, ang totoong rason ko, personally, hindi ko alam yung rason iba. Pag 1 year, di masapat na panahon na naman ng Kongreso para i-reset uli yan. Mas maikli, mas maganda para sa akin para wala ng panahon na i-reset pang muli. Dapat matuloy na ang halalan sa BAR.
Senator J.V. Ejercito explained how they used the Senate's version as working draft, but also used some provisions from the House.
Nag-compromise sila. So, yung sa House na dapat 1 year and then being expired yung term, ginawa na lang or appointment, ginawa ng 5 months sa Senate version and hold over. Kumbaga hanggang after the elections.
Some senators meanwhile explained their votes on the bill during its approval on third reading.
Kaya pumapayag lang po ako na yun para lang pwede natin pag-usapan yung panukala na magbibigay muli ng plebisito sa Sulu para maisama muli sila sa BARM. Give them a chance, no? One last chance to make that self-determination kung talagang gusto nilang masama sa BARM.
The Senate meanwhile ratified the BICAM report. From PTV Manila, Daniel Manalastas, Balitang Pambansa.
Those found engaging in vote buying or abusing state resources may face warrantless arrest. The Commission on Elections declared in a resolution yesterday. The COMELEC has issued a resolution number 11104 allowing law enforcement to arrest vote buyers and sellers without a warrant if they are caught in the act. Under the said resolution, it will expand the authority of the Poll Bodies Committee on Kontrabigay to monitor vote buying and selling in election 2025. COMELEC also said that the money or any other goods of value, sample ballots, and any other campaign materials used for vote buying and vote selling shall be immediately seized and taken into custody by the apprehending law enforcement officer.
Lahat ng klaseng ayuda ay ipagbawal 10 araw bago mag-eleksyon. Sa kasalukuyan, yung AIX pa lamang ang pinagbabawal 10 araw bago mag-eleksyon. Subalit yung committee na pinangungunahan ni Commissioner Ernesto Ferdinand Maceda ay nagpupursige na lahat ng klase ng ayuda ay ipagbabawal.
The cavernous hall of the House of Representatives was a flurry of activity as lawmakers rushed to finish legislative business of the day before they go on extended break for the midterm polls in May. From a proposed law seeking to amend the Universal Health Care Act to outlawing certain actions by nuisance candidates to reinforcing the Bureau of Animal Industry Office to immortalizing sports icons and legends with interment at the Libingan ng mga Bayani, all these plus more cleared third and final reading, as Armela Lesmoras reports.
with 193 members voting in the affirmative, 4 in the negative, and 0 abstentions.
A few days before the House of Representatives goes on recess, lawmakers are working tirelessly to pass several vital bills, like House Bill number 11357, seeking to amend the Universal Healthcare Act, which is now approved on third and final reading. Under the bill, the premium contribution rates at PhilHealth will be lowered and benefits will be expanded, especially for OFWs. For its part, the Department of Health welcomed this move. According to DOH Secretary Teodoro Herbosa, this can be considered as a major development and they are now looking forward to the progress of the bill at the Bicameral Conference Committee. Also, the House of Representatives has approved on final reading the bill seeking to classify actions of nuisance candidates as election offenses. The bill pushing to strengthen the Bureau of Animal Industry and the creation of an Animal Competitiveness Enhancement Fund. The bill seeking to allow the interment of Filipino sports heroes at the libingan ng mga bayani, and 2 proposals pushing to enhance the tax measures for tobacco products in the country. Meanwhile, good news for Filipino workers. After its passage in the committee level last Thursday, House Bill number 11376, pushing to provide for a 200 peso daily wage increase for minimum wage workers in the private sector, has also passed on second reading. Several labor groups welcomed this, like the Trade Union Congress of the Philippines, which also renewed its call for the chief executive to certify the proposed wage hike as urgent. From PTV, Melalas Moras, Balitang Pambansa.
Several lawmakers were dismayed by the absence of most social media vloggers whom they invited to the first public hearing of the House Tri-Committee on the spread of fake news and disinformation in the country. Personalities, or out of the 41 personalities summoned by the joint panel, only 3 showed up. Because of this, the Tri-Committee has issued show cause orders to the vloggers who failed to appear, including attorney Trixie Cruz Angeles, who may also face a disbarment case. Meanwhile, instead of going to the House of Representatives, Angeles' group was spotted at the Supreme Court, or SC, filing a petition against the Tri-Com.
Itong mga to, ang tatapang nila eh. Ang tatapang sa pagmumura, nang wala tayong kalaban-laban. Ngayon, pag kaharap dito, hindi makaharap dito. Oo. Mga takot din pala yung mga yan eh.
Hindi naging madali ang pinagdaanan ng ibang magsasaka para makuha ang lupa na nakalaan para sa kanila. Matatandaan na naging sentro ng kontrobersiya ang sinapit ng mga agrarian reform beneficiaries mula sa Barangay Kurilang, President Roas, Probinsya ng Capiz, nang harangin, guluhin at pagbabarilin ng mga armadong tauhan ng Nemesio Tandan Holdings. Pagkakaroon ng malakas na political will at determinasyon ang naging kasangga ng mga opisyal ng GAR para ipatupad ang pag-install sa mga ARV sa nasabing lupa.
Mga kooperatiba, mag-umpisa ini sa walang-wala gid. Pero sa time ni BBM, nahatagan kami sang support services. Dalag ko gid nga mga machineries nga naga-balor sang milyon.
Sa kasulukuyan, sa unang 2 taong panunungkulan ni Presidente Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr., nakatanggap ang Montecarba ng 2,640,000 piso na halaga ng makinarya at kagamitang pangsaka.
Hindi tama na ang ating mga magsasaka na pinaghihirapan at nagtatrabaho ng taon-taon na wala naman silang lupa. Kaya ang agrarian reform ay naging priority ng administrasyon.
And we are back. President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. met with Metropolitan Manila Development Authority Chairperson Romando Artes to discuss updates on the MMDA Comprehensive Traffic Management Plan, or the CTMP. The CTMP is a 5-year action plan that aims to ease traffic congestion in NCR. The project will enable government to implement 12 traffic management strategies, which includes the urgent improvement of the 209 identified traffic bottlenecks. Based on the data showed by the MMDA last year, at least 400,000 vehicles travel daily on EDSA that has a capacity of only 300,000 vehicles. Also present in the meeting were Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin, Interior and Local Government Secretary Junvic Rimulya, Public Works and Highway Secretary Manuel Bunoan, and Transportation Secretary Jaime Bautista.
Over 2,000 jobs in Taiwan were up for grabs during this holding of a special recruitment activity in Cabanatuan. Camille Nagaño of Philippine Information Agency Sentro Luzon has more details.
Over 2,000 jobs in Taiwan will be up for grabs during a special recruitment activity scheduled on Friday, February 7 at the covered court of Cabanatuan City Hall. Public Employment Service Office Head Ronil Sanopo said the city government collaborated with the Department of Migrant Workers in providing opportunities to those who wish to work abroad and to avoid illegal recruitment.
Nung una, kailangan matulungan natin yung mga kababayan natin, hindi lamang dito sa Cabanatuan City, kundi sa mga karatig city and municipality natin na magkaroon sila ng trabaho.
The city government of Cabanatuan recently participated in the nationwide job fair of the Department of Labor and Employment, which coincided with the Banatu Festival 2025 job fair, where over 2,000 job opportunities were also offered by around 35 companies. As the center of commerce in Nueva Ecija, the city government of Cabanatuan continues to conduct local and special recruitment activities to assist residents seeking employment whether locally or abroad. From the Philippine Information Agency Central Luzon, Camille Nagaño for Balitang Pambansa.
Local officials and supporters in Bicol region paid their respects to Albay Congressman Edcel Lagman. Sally Altea of Philippine Information Agency has the details.
Local officials and supporters across the Bicol region visited the wake of former Congressman Edcel Lagman in his residence at Barangay Sugod in Bakakay, Albay to pay respect and honor to his years of service and legacies. Lagman was given full military honors upon arrival at the Bicol International Airport in Legazpi City on Sunday morning. His supporters and fellow Albayanos expressed their sympathy and admiration for the departed lawmaker.
Aking kawalan sa Albay na wala na si Congressman Lagman. Lalo marami ang natulungan niya at naiwang legacies, lalo na sa mga kabataan at tulad kong kababaihan.
A 58-year-old mother from Legazpi City expressed sadness for his sudden death.
Nung nalaman namin na wala na siya, nakakalungkot. Sobrang nakakalungkot dahil hindi namin alam kung may gagaya pa sa kanya bilang isang kabitilan. Ang idol ko talaga si Sir Lagman from the very start. Noon pa hanggang ngayon. Napakagaling niya talaga.
Lagman served as representative of the 1st District of Albay for 29 years in 8 non-consecutive terms from 1987 to 2025. He will be transferred on Tuesday at the St. John the Baptist Parish in Tabaco City. Public viewing will resume in Metro Manila on February 5 to 9 at the Mount Carmel Shrine in Quezon City. Interment will be on Monday, February 10 at the Loyola Memorial Park in Marikina. Sally Altea from the Philippine Information Agency, Albay.
And for our weather update, based on Pagasa's weather forecast, northeast monsoon will affect Luzon, while the easterlies will affect the rest of the country. Cloudy skies with rains will fall on Cagayan Valley, Cordillera Administrative Region, Aurora, Quezon, and Camarines Norte, while Metro Manila and the rest of Luzon will experience partly cloudy to cloudy skies with isolated light rains caused by the northeast monsoon. Caraga, Davao Region, and Soc-Sargent may encounter cloudy skies with scattered rains and thunderstorms. Meanwhile, partly cloudy to cloudy skies with isolated rain showers or thunderstorms will be felt with the rest of the country due to the easterlies.
And that concludes our rundown of the latest, widest, and most comprehensive news and information from all across the nation. From Radyo Pilipinas, I'm Joe Fernandez.
This is your trusted news source, always ready to inform and serve the Filipino people. Catch Balitang Pambansa again tomorrow at 7 a.m., 12 noon, 6 p.m. and 9:30 p.m. for more updates and developments. From Radyo Pilipinas, I'm Princess Habiba Saripao Dak, and this is Balitang Pambansa.